100 grams.
All right, so you know the first question. Tell us your name, introduce yourself.
I'm Morgan Walker, and I'm an entrepreneur here in New Orleans.
All right, so tell us where you're from specifically in New Orleans.
I'm from New Orleans East Side, East Beast.
All right, so tell us about your childhood growing up.
Growing up in New Orleans for me was like, it was a time. I think I was in between the era where we didn't really have like technology like that, but then it was the beginning of like cell phones and computers and stuff. So I feel like we got the best of both worlds because I really experienced like outside New Orleans. You know, when you go in different neighborhoods by your grandma and you're able to just meet everybody and really talk to them in person. You know, so I got to experience that. But also when I was in high school, you know, we was on the phone, texting, you know, that kind of stuff. So just, I think experiencing both of those, New Orleans and like before Katrina and after Katrina, I think, you know, my age group really got the best of New Orleans and really got to see what it's all about. So my childhood was great coming up.
Awesome, awesome. So did you grow up with both your parents?
I did, my mom and my dad. My mom, she owned a daycare in New Orleans East, and my dad worked at the post office, so yeah.
So how do you feel like that affected you? You know, do you feel like that gave you an advantage in life just by having both your parents in the household?
I do, because it gave me to watch like different perspectives. You know, coming like somebody who works every day and understands like investing, and then like watching my mom, you know, just starting from the bottom, really like, you know, working her way up to owning her own daycare. You know, she was a teacher working at daycares for years. When I can remember when I was coming up, she was one of my teachers at my daycare. So really just seeing that whole thing play out, like watching her own, like go from teaching at a daycare to owning her own daycare was like hard work, pay off regardless of what area you're in, you know. And also like my dad, like because he worked a job, he was able to invest in that business. So it's like just seeing all those different perspectives definitely, I think, gave me an advantage to be a smarter entrepreneur for all these years.
All right, so what did you do following high school?
I went to Dillard University. I majored in accounting. So at first I wanted to be a forensic accountant. I was really into numbers, like really into accounting, you know, because it was just intriguing to me. So I wanted to like figure out ways that, you know, I could do something different. Like I always wanted to be different. But throughout high school, I always like threw parties and stuff for like hustle, for like money. I never like really wanted to have a job. Like I worked at Smoothie King, Foot Locker, and like that money was cool, but I'll take that money. Like I say, I learned from like watching my parents. So I'll take the money I made from like Smoothie King and Foot Locker and just save it for like $800 to get a venue, and then go book a venue and charge people $10 to come get in my party. And I've been doing that since probably like the 9th grade. So yeah, that's like, I think college was the same way, you know, like I did it because I wanted to prove to myself like I could get my degree. My parents don't have their degree. My brother was the first person to graduate college in my family, so I definitely, you know, was following his footsteps as well, because he's like one of my mentors. So just being able to graduate it's a big accomplishment for me, and I like to say that, you know, I got my college diploma. So
Nice, nice. So what you did following college, since you said through high school and college, you pretty much was building your business, like you said, since 9th grade. And I'm not sure, I mean, I'm guessing you were aware of that, you know, just even when you started, just saying, you know, I'm doing this. Like, did you feel like it was just this legit business, or did you kind of just go into it and then it clicked at one point, like right after college, I felt like you was doing the same thing?
yeah, like right after college, I kind of understood. I took business law in college as well. That was one of the courses. So I think like starting to understand like business structures and marketing and things like that made me look at throwing parties differently, because it was a lot of trial and error. Like I wasn't running a business throwing parties. I was making money. And once I understood like, okay, I can really run this efficiently as a business, was definitely after college. And that's when I started taking it serious and like starting my own production company. But directly after college, I worked a job. I was at a nonprofit doing accounting for like 8 months. That didn't last. I was like, yeah, no. I'm on the weekends I'm making about 20,000. Come here, sit here for like what, $20 an hour, if that. Like, it just wasn't worth it for me. So yeah, I quit that, and then I started my production company, Morg Productions.
Dope. So what motivated you or inspired you to make the shift from club concert promotion to politics?
I mean, I was forced to because of COVID. I think everybody kind of had to pivot and shift their business. You know, how we were used to things, life wasn't like that anymore. You know, I think, and for me, having those months, just being able to, like I said, all my life I've been promoting parties. Like, I didn't know what to do. I'm like, oh my God, like we can't open a club, I can't get paid, like I don't know what to do. But I started thinking about my skills and what I have been doing throughout all those years. I wasn't just throwing parties. I was organizing, I was marketing, I was doing so many things within one, you know, aspect of my production company. So I was like, okay, how can I take this and pivot and actually, you know, still get paid for something that's going on right now? And politics will never end. Like, regardless of what's going on in society, like, that's a job people need, and like I'll always have a job if they always have a job. So that was kind of how I pivoted into that, because I knew my skills in like marketing and just getting people out will work for politics as well.
So just like you said, like a lot of people had to pivot in a way through that whatever that everybody went through, you know, COVID. So how was that? What do you feel like it was easier for you to do that because you already had the skills, or do you feel like it was a big challenge to get through that hurdle into doing this switch?
I think it was a big challenge because I'm gonna say this, like, I'm a creator, so I can come up with an idea, honestly, in like 2 seconds. Like, if you tell me what you're trying to accomplish, I can probably come up with a unique concept that's never been done before to get people to be intrigued about whatever it is you're selling. So I think with that skill, I learned how to monetize it and make it look like you needed to have this on your like side. I don't know how to explain it, but it was definitely challenging. Like I said, to make it make sense to other people. Because it might make sense in your head, like, I'm like, okay, but this is how this is beneficial for you.
For you, right.
Because, like, I would understand it if I was running. I would want, you know, like this to happen, like, for myself. But, like, really presenting it in a point where they wanted to buy into it. So I think, and that's how I came up with, like, influencer marketing. So basically, that was my selling point. Where they couldn't really be out on the ground, hand in hand, like, promoting. So I use social media, and like people who have influence in the city, I was able to get them paid and get myself paid too, by saying like, hey, look, this person stands for this and this. If you align with this, then they want you to say like, go out and vote for them. So I kind of paid everybody and also got paid for doing that.
So I mean, to me, it sounds like bridging gaps and coming up with solving problems, right? So what would you tell just individuals in general about how to be able to do that on their own, about bridging the gap or solving problems for their businesses? Do you have any type of advice for people that should be trying to do that or will want to do that and having issues with it?
Yeah, I think if you always have a solution, you definitely have something that you can monetize. So just figure out a way, like I said, to really make it make sense to other people, like structure it. I think that's the most important thing. Like, make sure your business is structured, because without a structure, you can't sell it. You know, like, it's just an idea. But if you structure your idea, you can sell it to anybody because they need that problem solved. And if you the person with it, then.
So it sounds like they basically need to structure it so they understand it and not just you.
Exactly.
So the biking goal, like, how do you come up with the idea, and basically, like, what do you have like planned for in the near future with that?
So yeah, like I was saying, like taking something and structuring it, an idea. So while I was working for politicians, I came up with the idea of biking vote. It was a safe way to mobilize young people to the polls during COVID because you couldn't really have a lot of inside activity. So biking was something that I was already doing. So I just implemented in a way to like really mobilize people. So I just structured it to where all the bikes was provided free, and we were able to take young people and like you meet up at a spot basically, and then we ride to City Hall to vote because that's a centralized voting place. So it took me a while. It took me about 5 or 6 months to really, because when we first did it, it was just an event. Like we were biking to the polls, you know, and then when I really sat down and wanted to continue to do it because I saw a huge turnout, I had to really like step by step put in like work, like the routes, you know, how people, like how I'm gonna figure out how many people actually need a bike, how many people actually need transportation to the bikes, how many people have bikes. So like just collecting all this data and like also just finding out like who's interested in actually biking and voting. So all that became like questions for me that I had to answer or whatever because I knew like I had something special because like I said, when I first did the event, it was just big. You know, so I'm like, oh, hold up, this getting people out to vote. Because believe it or not, like, young people just, sometimes we just not worried about who's running because we feel like it doesn't directly impact us. When really it does, because they just have so much control, politicians have so much control over, you know, everything that's going on in the city. We just not really realizing it until something directly affects us, you know. So I think that's what Bike and Vote did for the city, at least for, you know, a lot of people that support it. They know, like, when they come, you learn about who's on the ballot, you learn about how they could benefit, what does that mean for you in particular, right. You know? So I think it's the learning piece, and it's also that piece where we actually get people out to vote. And yeah, and now it's a full-fledged nonprofit. We've been supported by huge organizations in Louisiana, so.
Dope. All right, so we want to go into pretty much from that. What do you see in the future for yourself, and what can people expect from you?
Everything, because I'm back. You know, I'm back doing my production company. I'm back throwing parties. I also am continuing to do Bike and Vote. We doing this for every election. We haven't took off yet. Like I said, we just received one of our biggest grants, which is $60,000 from Power Coalition, which is one of our partners here in Louisiana, just to get out the vote for young people. So that's a milestone for my nonprofit because, like I said, just starting from an idea to an event and actually being a full functioning nonprofit organization, being able to hire people, and also, you know, get other people involved in other businesses, being able to pay them too. Yeah, Bike and Vote definitely, like I'm seeing it being like something huge for the state. You know, I want it to be all over the state. So that's one of my goals. And then my other goal is basically, I'm all about like building everybody else. So I came out with a book, I wrote a book, so that's like my next thing. And basically like, it's called Think Like a Local. I wanted to write this book because people always come and visit New Orleans and they always be like, when you're on a plane or something, they be like, so what do y'all do? What do locals do? Where should I go? When you know, like, where you eat at?
They definitely do.
So it's like, this book showing you is not just talking about like Bourbon Street. It's about young Black entrepreneurs in the city who got their own business. And this book have pretty much everybody spot, food, just hanging out, any type of vibe. Like, that's what the book is all about, just to build New Orleans in another light, in a positive light, and also getting other people who come here from all across the country to support people locally, natives of the city. You know, because I think we have to continue to pour into people who are actually from here so that we can like just thrive like that, you know?
No, that's definitely a fire concept, and because people always, I feel like New Orleans is so unique that people always come here just to figure out how much they can do. And that's another example of what you just said about bridging the gap and finding a solution for, you know, different things. So that's fire.
For sure.
All right, so I mean, sticking with New Orleans. So what do you feel makes New Orleans New Orleans?
our accent, just really our mindset, really like, honestly, everywhere we go, if somebody do something, like our whole demeanor, everything about New Orleans is just unique because I was way like, I forgot what it was. I was out the country on the beach. I'm just having a conversation. A girl, she like, y'all from New Orleans? I'm like, yeah. She like, oh, you sound like Super. It was just like, that's so funny. It's like, come on, you're not gonna recognize nobody from Texas or nothing like that. Like, that's real New Orleans. It's like, yeah, we all family. Like, I'm like, yeah, I sound like Super from New Orleans. Like, so it's just like, that's just what New Orleans is all about. We special, we gonna stand out anywhere we go. So I think that's what we all have in common. And when we figure that out and really use that, that's how we be.
Dope. So tell us about your only New Orleans experience that you've had.
I'm glad you didn't take my story. But the other day, we was riding, it's so funny. So daiquiri shops is a real thing in New Orleans. Like everybody know that used to be the thing. Like Sundays at the daiquiri shop in the East. So they got this new daiquiri shop in the East. So we like, it's so packed, it's so many people. It's really like a whole second line out there. But they just standing around, sitting on cars, whatever. So they ended up having a four-wheeler pull up. That boy flying, he doing pop wheelers and everything. They had a lady and her baby walking across the street. So they walking across the street. That boy flying up the street. I'm like, hold up. He about to hit them. Cause that's how fast he going. So he like turn and like stop at the nick of the second. Why they hop on a bike? The baby and the lady. I was like, so that tripped me. I was like, yo, that only happened in New Orleans. Like, why that's her baby daddy or something? Like, the baby was driving them. First of all, the baby was at the daiquiri shop. Second of all, the baby started driving the four-wheeler. It was so funny. But yeah, only in New Orleans that could happen. Like, on a Sunday at the daiquiri shop, somebody got their baby, then the baby daddy pull up on the four-wheeler to come get them. That's crazy.
That's real. All right, so lastly, if you could go back in time to speak to your younger self or the youth in general, what would you tell them?
My younger self, I would tell myself it's gonna all make sense. Continue to believe in yourself, and that's it. It's gonna all make sense. And then, as far as everybody else, like I always say, just self-love, value yourself, be selfish. Because a lot of the times I was doing stuff for other people and I didn't put myself first. It didn't hurt me, but it did help me. So you want to continue to focus on your goals and your accomplishments because other people have their own goals and their own accomplishments already. So they, moving like that. So you have to also protect yourself. And that comes with just loving yourself and valuing yourself and understanding like you got the power, you could do it.
Right, so tell everybody where they can find you at, find even your book and the other things that you have going on.
They can find me on Instagram _Morg Walker. And then I also have my website, morganwalkerproductions.com. Everything's on there, my Twitter, my Instagram, my book. Yes, everything's on.
Only in New Orleans.